Okay, so like sometimes, when you just have like thoughts, like all these thoughts just swirling around up there, and you're like, I just need to like get this all out on paper.
Right.
That's where journaling comes in. But then you're looking at that blank page, and it can be kind of intimidating, right?
It really can be. Like, where do you even start? It's like staring into this void.
Totally.
And I think that's what makes the approach in this article from Lestallion so interesting. These 50 positive affirmation prompts, because they're like guideposts almost.
Yeah.
To like help you navigate that blank page and really channel your thoughts in a way that can lead to real personal growth.
It's like having a little personal development coach right there built into your notebook instead of just like word vomiting everywhere, which we've all been there.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, we're going to focus on self-love. We're going to focus on gratitude, mindfulness. I mean, that alone speaks to my type A personality.
Right. Structure.
Yeah.
I love
it.
But that's what I think makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's not just randomly writing down like happy thoughts.
Yeah.
It's this targeted reflection.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of the prompts under the self-love category is, list 3 things you love about yourself, which, sounds simple enough.
Almost deceptively simple.
Exactly. You're like 3 things. Okay, I got this.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're like,
Exactly. But see, that's where the magic happens. Because when you're calling consistently focusing on those positive qualities, even if it feels a little awkward at first,
you start to
Yeah.
really shift your self-perception. You're literally rewiring your brain
Yeah.
for greater self-acceptance.
Like planting those seeds of self-love and watching them grow.
Yeah.
1B, journal entry at a time. And I've always been a little squeamish about the whole, like, write a love letter to yourself. But you know what I mean? But now that you mention it, framed this way, it's like, oh, it's a way to kind of challenge that inner critic a little bit, wouldn't you say?
It's really about that, confronting that negative self-talk
Yeah.
head on and replacing it with
Yeah.
compassion and kindness, the same way that you would treat a dear friend.
Yeah. I like that. So I'm curious, what are some other prompts in here that stood out to you?
Okay, let's see. Well, there's one under the gratitude section that I found really thought-provoking. And it asks you to reflect on a time when someone helped you achieve a goal.
Okay.
And it's interesting because it makes you really think about the role that other people play in our success. Even in those moments when we might feel like we're doing it all on our own.
It's a good reminder that we're not on this journey alone.
Exactly.
And speaking of journeys, the future aspirations ones, those always get me. Because it's like, what does your ideal future look like? And that's a question that could send you down a rabbit hole for days.
Totally. But that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to think big picture, to really connect with your deepest values and aspirations. It's not just about, setting superficial goals. It's about envisioning the legacy you want to leave behind, the impact you want to have on the world.
That's something I'm going to need to ponder over my morning coffee tomorrow.
Right.
Because I think it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. But carving out time to really think about those bigger questions, that's what can ignite some real passion and purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes these prompts so much more than just journaling exercises. They're catalysts for self-discovery and real personal growth.
And I love how it's all organized, too. It's like you've got your self-love, you've got your gratitude, personal growth, mindfulness, future aspirations. It's like a buffet of self-improvement.
Yeah.
And you get to choose what you want to feast on.
It's true. And it makes it feel less overwhelming, too, because you can focus on the area that resonates most with you at any given time, knowing that there's this whole treasure trove of prompts just waiting for you when you are ready to kind of explore further.
Yeah, it's about meeting yourself where you are on your journey, which I love. So we've talked about the why behind this type of journaling. But I'm curious, where does someone even begin? What are some practical tips for actually making this a habit?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I think it's about finding a system that works for you. So some people really thrive on routine. So they might choose to journal first thing in the morning or right before bed, whereas other people might prefer a more spontaneous approach, jotting down thoughts whenever inspiration strikes you.
Yeah, I'm definitely like a creature of habit. Give me my morning coffee.
Yeah.
And my favorite notebook. And we are good to go.
I love it.
But you're right. There's no right or wrong answer here.
Exactly. The most important thing is just to be consistent, even if it's coming,
Yeah.
just for a few minutes
Yeah.
each day. The more you do, make it a habit,
Yeah.
the more natural it will become.
And don't be afraid to get creative with it. We're not talking about writing a thesis here, right?
No,
It's your journal. It's your space to experiment.
Totally. Some prompts might lend themselves better to bullet points,
Yeah.
while others might flow better.
Yeah.
More of a stream of consciousness ramble.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to doodle, draw, even paste in pictures or quotes that inspire you.
Ooh, I love that. Make it your own. Now I do have to ask, what about those days when the words just aren't flowing? Because we've all been there. You're staring at that blank page and you're like, I should be feeling really profound right now, but nothing's coming out.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah.
And that's where I think those mindfulness prompts could be really helpful.
Ah, yes, because mindfulness isn't just about sitting cross-legged
Yeah.
on a meditation cushion. It's about being present in those challenging moments too, right?
Absolutely.
How do I find that sense of peace? Even when everything feels like it's going a little sideways, it's like sometimes my mind is just like a whole hurricane of to-dos and worries. And those mindfulness prompts are suddenly.
Finding the eye of the storm.
Oh, I love that analogy. That's perfect. And actually, there's a prompt in there that speaks to that. It asks you to describe a place where you feel completely at peace. Ooh, see that one? That one would be dangerous for me. I'd be daydreaming about my last vacation, and suddenly I'm 3 paragraphs deep into a description of
Yes.
the perfect beachside margarita.
Well, hey, there's no judgment in the journal.
It's true. That's true.
But I see what you mean. It's about tapping into that feeling of peace, even if it's just a memory, and allowing yourself to really savor it.
Yeah. And maybe even figuring out how to bring a little bit of that peace into your everyday life.
Exactly. Speaking of bringing things into your everyday life, there's a prompt in the personal growth section. That I'm super useful for that. It asks you to think about a skill you'd like to learn and the steps you could take to actually develop it.
Okay. Now we're talking action steps. This is where things get really interesting to me. Because it's one thing to dream big, but how do we actually bridge that gap between aspiration and reality?
Right. It's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It is.
And these prompts really provide a framework, I think, for answering it. For example, instead of just saying, I want to learn to play the guitar, this prompt encourages you to break it down. Maybe you find a local teacher, set aside practice time each week, or even just start by
researching different
types of guitars.
Turning those vague desires into concrete, actionable steps.
Exactly. And I think that's something that can be applied to so many areas of life, wouldn't you say?
It's absolutely.
Whether it's a new skill, a career change, even just improving a relationship. It all starts with that first step.
That initial leap of faith, even if it feels scary or uncertain.
Yes. And that's where I think those positive affirmations come in handy too. Because when those doubts start creeping in, and they inevitably will, you can look back at all the amazing qualities and accomplishments you've been journaling about and remind yourself that you got this.
You're totally right. It's building your own personal hype squad right there in your journal.
Exactly. I love that. Now, I do want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about those future aspirations prompts. Feeling a little daunting.
Oh, yeah. They definitely send me into a bit of an existential spiral.
In a good way.
In a good way.
I love that because they challenge us to think beyond our comfort zones, to consider
that bigger picture
of our lives. And I think that's something that's so easy to lose sight of.
In the hustle
of everyday life.
Absolutely. It's we get so caught up in checking things off our to-do list that we forget to ask ourselves, what is this all for? What do I really want my life to stand for?
Right.
Know.
Big questions.
Big questions.
But they're worth wrestling with.
They are. And journaling can be such a powerful tool, I think, for that process of self-reflection.
That's true. It's having a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
Without judgment.
Yeah.
Or expectation.
Yeah.
You're free to explore those deeper questions, to experiment with different ideas, to really get to know yourself on a deeper level.
And maybe even surprise yourself along the way, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because sometimes the answers we find in those pages are the ones we never even knew we were looking for.
Exactly. No, as we delve deeper into these prompts, I wanted to touch on one that really resonated with me. It asks you to imagine yourself a year from now, having achieved all your goals.
Ah.
What do you see? How do you feel?
Ooh, that's a powerful visualization technique. It's like
Yeah.
stepping into a time machine
Yeah.
and like experiencing the future that you're working toward.
Exactly. And it's not just about wishful thinking. It's about embodying that future self, feeling the emotions associated with success
Yeah.
and accomplishment.
Yeah, because our emotions can be such powerful motivators, right?
Totally.
So if we can connect with that feeling of joy, fulfillment, excitement, it can really fuel our actions in the present moment.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the importance of consistency. Because
Yeah.
the more we engage
Yeah.
with these prompts,
Yeah.
the more reinforcing those positive neural pathways, making it easier to access those empowering emotions whenever we need them.
It's like building a mental muscle,
Yeah.
one positive affirmation at a time.
Exactly. And just like any workout, it takes effort
Mm.
and dedication.
Yeah.
But the rewards are well worth it.
So we're like training our brains to focus on the positive, even when things get tough.
Yes. And here's the thing about those tough moments. They're inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Like life. Life is going to throw curveballs.
It's true. It's true.
So,
It's not about
Yeah.
if they happen. It's about when they happen
yeah.
and how we respond. And
Yeah.
that's where I think having those positive affirmations becomes even more crucial. Yeah, because it's so easy when you're in it, when you're feeling discouraged or overwhelmed to fall back into those negative thought patterns.
Oh, yeah.
But if you've been consistently journaling, you have this like arsenal of positive self-talk to draw upon.
It's like your secret weapon against self-doubt.
I love that. It's like
Yeah.
those prompts become these little reminders of your own strength and resilience.
Exactly. That's what I find so empowering about this approach. It's not about denying the negative. It's about actively choosing to focus on the positive, even in the midst of those challenges.
It's about shifting your perspective, reframing those challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yes, exactly. And that
Yeah.
is a skill that takes practice.
It does.
Which is why I love the prompt in the personal growth section
Yeah.
about reflecting on a time you overcame a difficult situation.
Okay.
Because when you really sit down and think about it, you realize just how resilient you truly are.
It's about acknowledging how far you've come and all the obstacles you've already overcome.
Yes. And I think that realization can be
Yeah.
incredibly empowering.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I got through that. I can get through anything.
Totally. It's
Not
like
good.
giving yourself a pat on the back
Every day.
for all those times you didn't give up.
Exactly. And on that note, I think it's important to acknowledge that this whole journaling thing,
Yeah.
it's not about achieving some
No.
kind of
Yeah.
perfect state of positivity.
Right.
You know?
It's not about like
Right.
toxic positivity either.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection.
It's about being kind to yourself throughout the process.
Because we're all a work in progress, right?
We are every single day.
Exactly. So there will be days when you feel like you're crushing it. You're going to sit down, you're going to journal, the words are going to flow out of you.
On fire.
Yes. And there are going to be other days where you struggle to write even a single sentence.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's true.
You know, the important thing is just to keep showing up
Yeah.
for yourself, even when it feels hard.
Yeah. It's about creating that space for self-reflection and growth, no matter what life throws your way.
I love that. Beautifully said.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I think the takeaway is that it's not just about writing in a notebook. It's about really creating that space for self-discovery
Growth.
and transformation. And you know, if these positive affirmation prompts speak to you, we highly recommend checking out this article from Lestallion. We'll link it up in the show notes. And in the meantime, grab your favorite notebook, maybe a cup of tea,
Ooh, yes.
find a cozy corner, and start writing.
It's a beautiful journey.
It really is.